Welcome back to the D5 Football YouTube channel. This week we're joined by the two guys from the HUFC Chat Podcast, a Hartlepool United podcast. We're going to be previewing their game against Wealdstone and just a bit of general chat about some of the players this season, how the team's been doing this season in general, and obviously sort of their title/playoff running. I don't know what either of you think you're going to be in, whether you're going to be sort of title or sort of playoffs, but Hartlepool are obviously up there. Getting into it, game against Wealdstone coming up. How do you think you're going to do against Wealdstone?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, thank you, for having us both on. We should be going into this game as favourites, really. We've come off the back of a fantastic result on BT against Notts County, where we played a real high intensity in the first half. Second half, we managed to close the game out in the 90th minute, towards the end, 87th minute, with Richie Bennett, who's coming on loan from Stockport. We're in a good run of form. Away from home, we're struggling a little bit to pick up the wins. We're drawing majority of games away, but that'll come. I think personally, we just need to keep pushing. Winning at home, picking up results in terms of draws, and the odd win hopefully away from home, and we just go from there, really.
Yeah, I think generally, going on what you've just said, Jack, I think I'd probably agree. I mean, going into it, we've got absolutely nothing to fear. We haven't lost in any of the last 10 games. Obviously, drawing 5 of them doesn't probably help, but like you say, we're full of beans, aren't we? We're just full of confidence. We're scoring goals. But, I mean, saying that, I'm in no way underestimating the powers of the National League. We've seen games like this season already that Pools have lost. Went to Weymouth and lost unexpectedly. So it's a difficult one to say, really. Ultimately, Pools going there, clear favourites. Will they win? Remains to be seen.
Something you mentioned there about the draws and stuff like that. Is that something you think has been a bit of a problem for Hartlepool? Obviously, the amount of draws, and especially if you're going for the title, going for playoffs and near the top, stuff like that. Drawing games that you should be winning, obviously, a bit of a problem.
I think, we're in a difficult position with Sutton still having 3 games in hand. They lost to Torquay the other night, which I think was quite an important result going forward. With the draws, it's better than losing. I'd rather have a point. Any fan would rather have a point than no points at all. I think, there's been opportunities in games where we should have gone clear of teams and, should have put them away. But we just, as I've said, we just have to keep picking up them points away from home. We're winning the majority of games at home, and just getting them points in away games, I think, just keep doing that. If we really, really are wanting to go for the title, we're going to have to start winning sooner rather than later away from home. And, we're facing Sutton. That could potentially be the final game of the season. We're away to them. So, yeah, now is the perfect time just to push on and consolidate with some wins there, and getting the wins at home. I think we can go for the title. But in terms of playoff form, I think, we're doing well enough to be in and around there when we're still only getting draws.
I think genuinely speaking, I think obviously too many draws obviously is a problem, but I think generally speaking, it depends how you look at things. Obviously, firstly, I think if you're looking at Pools and you're talking about them, are we going to win the league? Then obviously drawing is just you just can't do it. You've got to win as many games as possible, but ultimately, if you're looking at Pools as playoff contenders, a team who's going to be in and around fighting for the playoffs, then I'm not going to complain about a couple of draws in there. Obviously, you want to see Pools win as many games as possible, of course you do, but a couple of draws in there, I mean, like I keep saying before on one of our previous episodes, at this time of the season, for me, there's no such thing as a bad point.
What do you know about Wealdstone then? This is obviously a bit of a preview for Wealdstone as well as sort of talking about the team in general. What do you know about Wealdstone from sort of having seen them bits this season, having played them yourself and stuff like that? What do you know about them, and sort of who do you think their sort of key players are, if any?
Well, I mean, being perfectly honest with you, I don't know a lot about the team. I know that they're down there, they're struggling a bit, and as I've said previously, just before, we should really be going there with the confidence that we're gonna hand them a result. A big result, if I'm being honest with you, has been coming. We've been beating teams narrowly when we've absolutely battered them. So, for me, going away to Wealdstone shouldn't be a struggle. Their best form is at home. As you highlighted earlier, but personally, I don't really see any struggles. And as Davo said, in this league, anything can happen. So we just have to go there with the mindset that it's just like any other game. In the National League, anything can happen. So we need to go there and we need to really show that we're the team that's up at the right end of the table. So personally for me, Wealdstone, I don't know a lot about them. That's me being dead honest. I know they are struggling a bit down there. I think, they're one of those teams that we should be expecting 3 points off.
Yeah, I think generally speaking, I'm on the same line as Jack. Obviously, we've never played them before in our club history apart until this season. So on that note, obviously, I can only talk about what I've seen this season in terms of our game. Obviously, as newcomers into this league, it's I think they're taking things with a pinch of salt, really, getting used to the league, getting used to how teams play and stuff like that. And I'm sure they'll be content. Obviously, you have to be at this time of season, obviously with survival. But generally speaking, you look at the table and it's a game that pulls. You've got to go there. You've got to have every ambition to win. But like I said to you in the previous space, this league, it's funny, it's unpredictable. So, I go into Saturday, regardless of form, regardless of how many goals their players have scored out like that, I go in open-minded. If we win, then that's great. But I'm not too arrogant to say that we won't get beat or we won't draw the game.
I think when I was looking at some of the stats and stuff like that, I think most of their wins came in a run, started right at the start of the season. I think you might remember, in a run at the start of the season. I think they've only had 2 wins since that sort of run. So I think that sort of bodes well then that you probably aren't going to lose. But like you said, anything can happen. And they're better at home. That's what the sort of stats say. So just a sort of unbeaten run, stuff like that, Hartlepool 13 unbeaten, with sort of too many draws there. Is that run then, do you think that continue until the end of the season and sort of, or are there any games where you sort of look at, you thinking Hartlepool might sort of, struggle and might lose?
It's been a long, long time since we've had a run of form like this. It's been a long, long time since we've had a team that have, played like this, fought for it in every game. It feels like they're really playing for the fans, and that's been something that's been really evident in the run that we've had recently. Can I see it ending? As we've said and as we've alluded to earlier on, it can end at any time against any team. One game, obviously, that will be the standout for most Pools fans and most, people looking at the National League is Sutton Hartlepool, last game of the season, potentially. I know that the club's currently in talks for the Weymouth game to be moved to the end of the season, which could mean that we play on the final day. So that's one game that, you kind of think, is that going to be when the run comes to an end? But there's also other tough teams that we've got to face yet. We've got Chesterfield coming up, I know that. And as we've said numerous times already, it can end at any time. I think Dave Challoner's really got the squad believing. He's got us playing football that we haven't played in years. He's got a squad together. A lot of loan players have come in, but he's made them gel. And then there's also been players that have, been consistently in there. I think something that's been really important is, Gary Liddell at the back. He's kept, it really assured back there. Ben Killett was ruled out for the rest of the season, unfortunately, today. He's been key in maintaining this run because there's been a lot of big saves that he's made. Can it end at any time? Yes, it can. Can I see it ending? Not at the moment, but, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, just alluding on what you've been saying, Jack, I think first and foremost, one of the interesting things I want to say about the whole thing, about the unbeaten run, I think as long as I've been following Pools, I don't know about you, Jack, but from my opinion, I think the things that shocked me most this season is, for as long as I've been going to Pools, probably more in recent years, maybe the last 5, 6, 7 years, at the very least, we've always struggled at home. Our home form has been one of the biggest problems about our club. And all of a sudden, I mean, could you argue that the fans, yeah, we all know our fan base can be a bit, what's the word, toxic, I'd say, on a match day at home if things don't go right. Yeah, but I think that only comes with the passion, the expectation that us as fans have. Could that play a factor this year? Yeah, I think so. I think the lack of fans that are in the ground, obviously, are playing some benefits, probably, especially for teams like Pools, like I say. Yeah, look, it can end at any time, like Jack said. I think, like I said to you before, we've been beating teams off Eastleigh, we've been beating off teams like Weymouth, We had Dagenham up here a couple of weeks ago. They give us a really good game. They were playing some good stuff. On another day, could have got a result. It's getting now where, honestly, every Saturday at 3 o'clock, I've got no nails left. Do you know what I mean? It's really, really, the nerves are just there. So, of course, it can end. You know, I'm open to that every Saturday. Every game Pools play, I'm open to the idea of Pools losing. Like, you know, like that's been said, we've got Sutton coming up at away, obviously. Home games, Chesterfield. You know, they're all tough games. I'm not going to talk about individual games because they're all tough games. And like we've said, it can happen at any point.
Yeah, I think that's one big thing. You know, you've mentioned there, Davo, about the home form. That, you know, it's strange because we had games last season. I don't know whether you remember, Nathan. We were coming in on a run. You know, we beat Notts County 2-0 at home, funnily enough, last season. And I remember that game because the Vic was absolutely bouncing. You know, at the end when the result came in, Dave Challoner came over to the northwest corner and you know, the reception the players got that day was incredible. And I think if we were allowed in, I would be very confident that we could keep this run going, definitely at home and definitely away. You know, our supporters travel well. We've got, you know, a great following, home and away. And as Davo said, there's an expectation at the club. You know, you pull on that shirt for the people of Hartlepool, not just for that, you know, football club. You pull it on and you play for us because, you know, there's many fans in that stand who would give anything to walk out onto that pitch. Yeah, they may not be obviously as qualified as the professionals, but they will give it absolutely everything. And that's all the fans want to see. So that has been one stranger element, you know, of the run that we've gone on at home without any fans. Perhaps that's, you know, paid off in a way with the weight of expectation of just being able to go out there and play football.
Going forward then into the game, who do you think might be sort of key going forward in terms of scoring goals? Hartlepool sort of top scorers. I think we've got Luke Armstrong, Reece Alts and a few other players. Obviously, like I said, Richie Bennett, who's sort of coming on loan from Stockport. While he didn't score that many for Stockport, he seems to be hitting perhaps a bit of a run of form for you. Who do you think the key players are?
Yeah, that's a strange one. You know, it's strange that Stockport have loaned him out to us in the first place. You know, obviously there's the, you know, the idea that perhaps they're going to be, you know, getting him primed, ready for their playoff push. You know, they're in a good run of form. He's come in and I've been really impressed. You know, the time that he came on against, I think it was Dagenham, he made his debut and, you know, he just came on the pitch and I thought this guy can play. You know, he held up the ball and, you know, just looked like the forward, the big, tall centre forward that we needed there. Yeah, you know, Reece Oates, he's been a player that we brought back to the club, a player that's been there in the past and, you know, many never questioned his work ethic, but was it the goals that he was lacking? I mean, this season he's come in and he's been incredible for me. You know, he's been flying down that wing, delivering into the box. I don't think enough gets mentioned, you know, about our wing backs. That is a big part. Key players for us, David Ferguson and Jamie Sterry. You know, the delivery that we're getting into the box right now is exceptional, something we haven't had for years again. So I think they're key players. Gary Liddell, you know, he's a player who's just experienced. He's a Rolls Royce at the back. You know, he just keeps ticking over. He controls the play well. And we brought in this lad from Chester as well yesterday. I don't know much about him. I think he comes pretty highly recommended from what I've heard. And I completely have faith in Dave Challoner. So, you know, we've got a lot of players, and that's without me mentioning some others, which I'm sure Davo will highlight when we pass over to him. But, you know, there's many players that I could tell you right now that, you know, are key. Every one of them, practically. But, yeah, I don't know what you have to add on that, Davo.
I know we've spoke about this before in our podcast, and, you know, I think it's quite a difficult question because I think this year I don't think I could talk about him or him. It's everyone. It's been a team effort this year. That scored from the goalkeeper to those who are leading the line up front. You know, in terms of key players, you're going to look at Armstrong, and you know, his goals scored this year, it speaks for itself. You know, he's a typical striker. He's in the right place at the right time. He's a poacher in and around the 6-yard box, ready at any given time to put a ball in the net. You know, we spoke about Reece Alts. You know, he's just work ethic. You know, is he? You know, again, is he a 20-goal a season striker? No, he's not. But what he gives you in, you know, in another hand, is what makes all the difference. His pace, his constant running from the first minute to the last minute, chasing balls down, the constant press. It just makes all the difference. And you look to your midfield, I think, is key this year. Obviously, Nicky Featherstone, who you've spoke about earlier, Nathan, in the programme, about his stats. I think what you see, is what you get. I think from our point, as a fan base, I think sometimes he's overlooked. Sometimes he's just looked at as some, just a random midfielder when he's not. Sometimes with Nicky, you don't always notice largely in games, but it's the thing sometimes you don't see is what makes the difference for us. Is with him, and you've got Houlihan, who on his day cracking midfielder. He's now came into a good form. He honestly, I made a tweet about it, Jack, didn't I? He came into a bit of a rough patch in the new year, but he's reciprocated that now with goals. 3 goals. Is it 4 goals and 4?
4 and 4 now, yeah.
4 and 4 now for Gavin. From midfield. We've got quality all over the pitch. I can't just go on naming individuals because, like I say, it really has been a team effort this year, and that's from the goalkeeper to the strikers.
Quickly, we've got about 8 minutes left before we've got obviously go. We've got obviously, you said Nicky Featherstone midfield and stuff like that. He's come up a lot of the stats we've been putting out on Twitter for like passing. And I know whenever I see him, when I put stats out, I see Nicky Featherstone, I know I'm going to get loads of tweets of memes about him. Also defence as well, Ryan Johnson, now he's had injury problems. I'm not entirely sure if he's going to be back before end of the season. I'm not entirely sure, you guys will know. Quickly on those two, what do you make of those two?
I mean, if we start with Jono, he's come into the club and the first game that he played, I thought, yeah, this guy looks all right. And then he had a little pat because he scored. He was a scoring machine at the start. And I thought, this guy, he's a good player. I was a bit wary about his clearances out from the back. A few of them were a bit just, I don't know about this. But honestly, he's been a really, really good signing by Dave Chandler, a player that, has been, fans are actually, when he's injured, we were thinking who's going to come in. I alluded to Gary Liddell, and he said Gary Neville there, he's almost as good. Gary Liddell earlier on, he's come in for Jono, and he's holding the fort. But Ryan Johnson is a quality piece of kit. He does what he needs to do. He ticks over. He wins them headers. He's not afraid to go in. So yeah, a key player. I hope he's back soon rather than later. I know he's got a bit of an injury, but it'd be great to see him back towards the end of the season, seeing the massive part he's played so far, really.
Yeah, I think I agree. It's going to sound quite awful, actually. Obviously, I know you've spoken about his injury, and you spoke about who's going to come in, and that's been the good thing. Obviously, we've brought Liddell back in, and we haven't really missed him. Because since the return of Liddell, his experience just it shines through. He recently reached the milestone of 650 Football League appearances, and it shines through every game. You can tell it just oozes from his performances every week. But getting back to Ryan Johnson, like you say at the beginning of the season, he really, really did show what he was all about, and it really came through why Dave Chandler brought him into the club. Jack, you said he was scoring goals at one point. He was our top goal scorer alongside somebody else, for a centre back. But like you say, he doesn't mess about. He's a big physical centre half. He doesn't get mucked off by other players. He just does what he has to do. Top football in mind. But like I say, he has, as awful as it does sound, he hasn't been a miss because we've had Liddell come back. And obviously, we've had a little bit of a tweak now. Obviously, Lewis Cass, another loanee, he's moved into that back three, and everything's just worked perfectly at the moment. So we haven't missed him probably as much as we possibly might have done had we not had Gary Liddell.
Then your predictions for the game in general. In under 20 words, what do you think your prediction is?
I've already used a couple, haven't I? Pools win. That's what I'm going with. Pools win.
I won't be boring. I'll give you a score. Obviously, form speaks for itself. So we'll go with a Pools win. I'm going I'll go 2-0. We're not a team who scores many, but I'll go 2-0. Anything after that's a bonus.
There we go. And do you want to shout out, obviously, what you do, your podcast, where to find it, and obviously sort of how long you've been doing it, and sort of quickly on that?
Yeah, so we've been doing HUFC Chat for a little while now. We released an episode with one of our mates, Luke Bell, a couple of weeks ago. That did really well. So podcast, we really just want something out there for the Hartlepool fans. We want people to be able to engage. We want people to give us a listen. It's a podcast that we're passionate about. We're passionate about the club. That's why we do it. As you'll know, doing these things, it takes a lot of time to come up with the content and do the research and things. So, yeah, you can find us on Twitter at HUFC Chat. You can find us on Facebook at Hartlepool United News. We're also on Spotify, Anchor, and numerous, I think, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. So if you just search for HUFC Chat on there, you'll be able to find the podcast. But yeah, it'd be great to have as many people listening, whether that's Pools fans or not. We're just passionate about this level of football. We're passionate about the club, and we just want to create something for the fans, really.
Yeah, and thanks to you, both of you guys, for taking time out and having a chat about sort of Hartlepool in general, but also sort of a bit of a preview, if you like, of sort of what might happen for the Wealdstone game, and also I say to everyone, but hopefully you go up and stuff like that. But if you are involved in the playoffs, we'll be sure to obviously get you back on and have a chat about whatever games you might be playing in the playoffs. But hopefully don't come to that. Hopefully you go up as champions. But we'll have to see. It's quite competitive. And thanks to everybody for watching, for tuning in, even some of the guys who've come from you. And be sure to subscribe if you want to see more content like this. We've got some other stuff. We haven't done any Hartlepool interviews or anything like that, but there's some sort of general content I think people might like and stuff like that. So be sure to go and have a check out of that. And thanks to you guys for taking time out to come on.